Wait.
Hello chat, hello everyone, welcome to the 1981 Caesar's Palace Grand Prix Watchalong. We're joining you of course directly from 1981. As you can imagine, our technical issues were related to the fact that YouTube... and I have got an even bigger technical issue, which is that I didn't mute YouTube. There we go.
It's going great.
It's going very well. Sorry. Yes, we're live from Las Vegas with you, and we've just got a little bit of historical background because, of course, the Caesar's Palace Grand Prix is a very special Grand Prix, run in quite unusual circumstances. So. I was just wondering, Ryan, could you fill us in on a little bit of the background to this race?
Well, it was the 19 early 80s for F1, and particularly throughout the late 70s, early 80s, there was a boom for single-seater racing in the US, and Formula One decided to take advantage of this and have multiple races a year in the United States. At one point, 3 races in the US, though this endeavor was unique, as we saw, as we're about to see, Formula One was coming to Las Vegas, Nevada, as a destination race that people would fly out to wonderful Las Vegas and book a stay at the beautiful Caesar's Palace Casino to watch the season finale of the Formula One World Championship.
It sounds amazing. I can't wait.
I mean, there's so many beautiful shots of the Las Vegas Strip, Stuart. You're in for an absolute treat.
For those who don't know, Caesar's Palace is a casino that still exists to this day in Las Vegas, and like many of the casinos in Las Vegas, it has ties to organized crime. So,
casinos with organized crime?
I don't buy it.
Yeah, so...
Not in my F1.
I mean, there's never actually been any proven
crime.
No
crime at all. Never happened.
There's never been any fraud or associated effects involved with Formula One, of course.
So
that's we all know.
Well, in the case of Caesar's Palace was built with, I believe, like a $10 million loan from a regional Teamsters pension fund to... Oh, Lord. And yes, it was pretty much the fantasy of a mobster to build this in the architectural style of ancient Rome in some way, shape, or form, but also like classical Hollywood movies about ancient Rome. And
on an entirely unrelated
which is to say,
note,
it was sort of in the style of a kind of mid-range pizza restaurant of the time.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would call Little Caesars mid-range, although I can say, by the way, today is the 50th anniversary of Al Capone, the perhaps the most famous organized crime leader of them all, being arrested on tax fraud. And not any of the other stuff.
Is that why they held it on this date?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Learning everything every day.
So pretty much the story of Caesar's Palace's opening is somewhat infamous, and it is noted in multiple versions of Las Vegas's history, including A Short History of Las Vegas, which is published by the University of Nevada, where the opening night featured, quote, the largest order of Ukrainian caviar ever placed by a private organization.
Ukrainian caviar!
2 tons of filet mignon, 300 pounds of Maryland crab meat, 5,000 glasses of champagne, and also cocktail waitresses dressed up in Roman attire who would greet guests by saying, "Welcome to Caesar's Palace, I am your slave."
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
So it was a low-key affair, yeah.
Oh. And now I see what the Paddock Club is modelled on.
So how obviously the Caesar's Palace racetrack, because there's a few days of running before we actually get to race day, where we are now, and as we're essentially doing the grid walk in a crofty Martin Brundle style fashion, which is to say symbolically. I was just thinking maybe Josh, you could hop in here because of course you've chronicled and studied the Caesar's Palace Grand Prix extensively.
Twice.
How did the construction of the track go, and how did the drivers prepare in particular for this race, which was a little bit different to most other Grand Prix tracks or races?
Well, it cost $10 million to build this absolute beautiful circuit.
I mean, which is a bargain.
$10 million today dollars, yeah. I mean, concrete was very cheap for the mobsters. There was on a Wednesday session before the official F1 running, which was a test session as the teams needed to prepare this brand new circuit, which was particularly difficult for the drivers, being an anti-clockwise circuit in the Nevada heat. Thursday brought the first practice sessions, and Friday brought qualifying, with the race being on Saturday for some reason.
Oh, because they needed to reopen the casino for Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, obviously.
Yeah, because you've got to sell that Ukrainian caviar; it goes off.
It really does.
You don't want to have that. So the drivers all prepared. What were the championship standings at this point, Josh? So what were they playing for as they prepped in the blistering Nevada desert?
Well, there were three drivers in an absolute dead heat for the championship. Carlos Reutemann, the Argentinian, was on 49 points in the Williams. Piquet's Brabham was 1 point behind on 48. And Jacques Lafitte was in with a long shot at 43 points. 9 points for a win, 6 points for second. Lafitte needed to win.
And this was to be the final race of the season.
This was the final race of the season, round 17.
Well, it sounds like
17 races in a season. Pathetic.
I know. You'd never get that nowadays.
Yeah, whoever was champion this year, whatever.
Oh, yeah, it didn't count.
Didn't they? So without further ado, perhaps we'll throw to some of our commentary team with an update on the starting grid for the Caesar's Palace 1981 Grand Prix from RJ O'Connell.
Thank you, Hazel. This is the starting grid for the 1981 Caesar's Palace Grand Prix. Qualifying on pole position with a time of 1 minute 17.821 seconds. Seeking his first championship is Carlos Reutemann of Argentina, alongside his teammate, the reigning world champion Alan Jones, in his final Grand Prix appearance. In the second row, from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, is Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari, and the Brabham of Nelson Piquet, number 2 in the standings. In row 3, it's young Alain Prost of France in his Renault, and John Watson in his McLaren Ford. Row 7, it's Patrick Tambay and Bruno Giacomelli in the Alfa Romeo. Row 5, it's Nigel Mansell of Great Britain and the 78 world champion Mario Andretti in the second Alfa. Row 6, it's Riccardo Patrese and Jacques Lafitte, number 3 in the championship, must win this race today. For row 7, it's René Arnoux and Andrea de Cesaris. Row 8 is Elio De Angelis and Mexico's Hector Rebaque. For the 9th row, it's Michele Alboreto and Didier Pironi. Row 10, it's America's Eddie Cheever and Keke Rosberg. For row 11, Jean-Pierre Jarier and Derek Warwick. And on the 12th and final row, Marc Schur of Switzerland and Chile's Eliseo Salazar. 6 drivers failed to make the race: Slim Borgood, Chico Serra, Derek Daly, Jacques Villeneuve, Brian Henton, Beppe Gabbiani.
And after that incredible series of names, Ryan Erik King will just count us down to the time that you should start your motors. And by motors, I mean the broadcast that you've chosen completely independently of any of our recommendations in order to watch along.
Oh, is there a way for us to independently give a recommendation to a broadcaster.
I believe Josh has been quite proactive in giving recommendations.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
the link that I sent everyone. Yeah.
so it's important that everyone be on the 000, 0 minutes and 0 seconds for this countdown.
Aye, Captain.
Yep.
We will.
Yeah.
Bonsoir.
Okay, we start on the go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to the blue skies and the blazing sunshine.
It's a beautiful circuit, isn't it?
For the championship deciding.
Oh, look at all that desolate sand!
I mean, it is in the desert, to be fair, RJ. I feel that expecting a desert not to have sand would be...
You can have ice deserts, you can have snow deserts.
But Rome had sand. It's honouring tradition.
I don't know. Have you been to Italy, Josh?
Yeah. It's full of sand now. It was like ash.
I mean, the Formula E track was quite dusty, so... But I think that might have been the fascist architecture.
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord.
fair.
Yes, that's Las Vegas for you.
You don't get a lot of themed racing circuits these days, and I really like that they went with a bag of socks.
Yeah,
It
it's
looks
true.
like
It's a monster munch.
There's not a lot of. I enjoy this this little bit of grid action that we're getting here as well. You know, you're not seeing 20 mechanics panic to put Max Verstappen's car back together. It's just a bit of a sort of like, off you go, love.
Yeah, whatever happens, happens.
I'm just vibing.
Yeah. Win a championship or you're fired.
Look at the course car. It's a Datsun.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, it's a Datsun, and we have Renaults in the field. Long live the Alliance! Here we go with the
We're
start
not
of
being
the formation
sponsored by
lap.
Yamaha.
They're practically sitting upright. I'm sitting more laid back than they are.
So, when Kart came here in later years and raced on a revamped version of this circuit in oval configuration, Mario Andretti.
Oval is in air quotes.
Mario
How
Andretti called it
did
the
they
greatest
revamp
racetrack
it?
he's ever driven on.
Did they sort of darn the socks a bit, or
Yeah, it
Yep.
was just like the outer course.
Yeah.
got
They
rid
made
of
a
all
choice
the
that I did,
hybrids.
where instead of trying to draw individual fingers on a person's hand like I did as a child, I just decided, what if it was just a really round mitt? And I believe that's the choice that they would make later on in the years.
Yes.
All right, the Mario 64 approach.
Yeah, the Mario Andretti 64 approach.
Yeah. It should be noted that after this race, Caesar's Palace, well, the parking lot specifically, would somewhat become a theater of dreams, because this parking lot also eventually hosted WrestleMania 9.
why
man.
was this parking lot full of sand? Not like
So,
parking.
Because
this was an extension to the parking lot. Only the first corner and the last corner, like that
Oh, I
early
see. So
section.
This is just like the overflow car park when you go to somewhere, and in the UK we have this a lot. Like you go somewhere, but it's a little bit popular, so there's an overflow car park, and it's just like
Yeah, this is the South of
floodplain
England showground.
It's like
Yeah.
you end up in a field, and it's 20 miles away from whatever you wanted to see, and also your car is steadily sinking into a bog.
Yes.
Right,
But instead of a
that's
bog,
it.
it's sand.
Nice liquefaction. Everybody loves that.
Oh, someone there running
It,
across.
it really
No
is.
barriers between people and the cars.
No, it's fine. Just don't get hit.
Yeah, you can see
But
it
most
coming.
importantly, we have natural runoff of this
What were
surface.
the conditions for the race, Josh? I feel like you'll know this. What was the temperature and?
It was hot was the temperature. I don't think they ever recorded it.
Freaking hot.
Yeah.
It's the desert. I don't care if it's the autumn. It's still the desert in Southwest America.
It was
I mean,
24
the Nevada
degrees
desert is
C.
really, really fucking hot.
24 degrees C, but
Alright.
bear in mind that driver fitness was not a priority in the 80s. To put it
We are before the days of Senna and Schumacher.
And that was, this is 1981, 24 degrees. They didn't have global warming then. That was actually pretty hot.
Yeah, and that was Mark Thatcher on the screen there, man who got
Mark
lost in
Thatcher?
Dakar.
Is he of any relation to that wicked witch Oh, wow.
Yeah, the woman currently in charge of
Another
Britain.
famous figure of the 80s. He is.
Was this before or after he got lost in the Dakar?
This was the year before, King. And this was
he
about
was-
20 years
Everyone's
before
on the
he
grid.
funded
Red
a
light.
coup.
He used
Hey!
the Caesar Palace Grand Prix to prepare for the
Look at
desert.
that Ferrari go.
Look at that Ferrari horsepower, just like we know it in 2020.
Yes,
And we just
kept
hated
all
ourselves.
Thank heavens they have all got round their
And away we go. And Carlos
Now, is this-
Reutemann just bobbled the
So,
start.
so who are the people that you're expecting to see a good showing from this race at this stage, Josh?
Well, I mean, Jones is now leading, but Reutemann's dropped down to about 6th by now, and well, surely he's got to come charging back up the grid.
Who's
in
this
the
lad on
Williams
his own
to go to.
here?
That's Jones sprinting ahead at the front, with Villeneuve becoming a bit of a bottleneck there, and some excellent camera work.
I gotta say, Gilles Villeneuve.
That's an Marcelo.
Oh no!
Oh,
No,
who's
yeah, definitely
who's
backwards.
Jarier. Yeah.
Now, because this is 1981, I'm guessing we're not going to see another like graphic explaining who the people are for about half an hour.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going to
they
be
still
like
have the
20
spare
laps in.
cars at this point, do they not?
They do, but I don't think Osella did, because they were shit.
Yeah,
Right, yeah, no,
Stella
they-
were, I believe, a second-year team, and spoilers, it doesn't get better from here. I'm sorry.
It doesn't. That's Giacomelli in 4th there, up from 8th on the grid.
Oh, I can't wait to see how he does.
Bruno Giacomelli, of course. We haven't actually talked about him much.
Well, he's got a penchant for doing quite well at the final races of the season in the USA. Of course, he got pole here at Watkins Glen the year before.
Who is he driving for this season?
Oh, as last year, it's Alfa Romeo, alongside Mario Andretti.
Alfa Romeo's got a history in this sport, do they not?
Oh, I mean, anyone who knows anything about the 50s knows Alfa Romeo.
At least the first couple of years, because
Yeah.
Nino Farina won the inaugural championship in 1950. Then it was Juan Manuel Fangio in 51. Then a big old quarter-century break, and then they're back.
Yeah,
Better than ever.
because in '52
Well,
they
better than
decided. In 1952, the FIA, well, not the FIA, most of the race promoters decided, hey, it was not a good look for an Alfa Romeo designed in the 1930s to be winning races in the 1950s.
He could probably still win today, to be honest.
Yeah.
Villeneuve's really bottlenecking at the moment. Prost wants to get past.
Gilles Villeneuve's had some
What's the
entertainment.
race lap time for a lap of Caesar's Palace Grand Prix? What are we looking at for a good time?
About a 120 maybe. On fuel tanks, probably a bit. Full tanks a bit more.
Okay, nice. And of course, we have refueling at this stage.
Brabham hadn't reinvented that yet. That was a couple years later. But tyres are still.
I believe it was the very next year is when we'd have refueling back, if I recall.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
And of course, we did return to Caesar's Palace Grand Prix in 1982.
Yeah.
Of course, but that hasn't happened yet.
Unbelievably.
Very believably, thank you.
Sorry, yes. Well,
Ooh,
no,
cross-edged Villeneuve wide there.
this is such a legendary race that you'd be surprised that they dare to attempt to repeat it.
That's very true.
And of course, the spec of the cars in 1981, which I probably should have looked up and I haven't. So, like David Croft, I'm hastily googling some facts right now. But perhaps you know more about it, Josh or anyone. They're using slick tyres,
Yes.
They are using slick
but
tyres.
there was a tyre war at this stage. Was there not?
Yes.
Yeah.
They very much was, and that would become crucial.
And we are in the heart of the effect era. Welcome to ground effect F1.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
baby. Prost past
Is that why
Villeneuve
the
for
cars are so
second.
wide?
Yep.
That's why they're white boys, yeah.
His cars are wide and they're getting sucked to the ground.
see, that's all we need. That's what we need now. Suck those cars.
Hang on a
Suck
minute.
those cars.
And a lot of the field, it's ground effects plus
Oh!
Cosworth power. Oh.
That is Patrick Tombe limping out of his Ligier.
See, it's the kind of
that
design
looks like
you don't have these days where you can just get straight out of the car after you've crashed because the front of it isn't there.
Yeah, it's by
Can I
design.
just say, so very lucky that he is only walking away, hopping away on one foot because the front end of the car is completely sheared off. And I
it's
believe we have
completely
also
messed up.
lost Elio DeAngelis by this point with a water leak.
Yeah, that was the car you saw in the pits a few minutes ago.
Aha!
Oh yeah.
And just as a reminder, everyone at home and me, because I made a little accident. What's the timestamp we're on at the moment?
Just about to hit 10 minutes. 10,
Yeah, 10 exactly.
10:02,
Okay,
10:03.
perfect.
Right.
But this tyre war interests me because I had a quick look at the wiki for this season, and every team just seems to use a whole selection of tyres. They haven't stuck to one manufacturer.
It's because Michelin were supplying the whole grid for the first, up until the French Grand Prix, because no one else could get their shit together. But after then, they began to specialise for the teams they were supplying, in particular Renault, Ferrari, and Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, because we're just on the cusp of like Formula One being fully professional. So like, they were tire customers, but there wasn't really a technical relationship. You could just buy a tire off the shelf for your car, pretty much.
Yeah,
I have to
exactly.
say, everyone was using a Cosworth V8, apart from
Ferrari, of course, because they're going to build their own engines. Renault, of course, they're going to build their own engines.
yeah,
They're going to build some spinny boys.
Alfa Romeo because they built their own engines,
Yeah, Italian, it's the law.
which was certainly not a rebadged Cosworth, I'm sure.
It was a V12, thank you very much.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry.
It was a big boy.
Hey, I'll have you know you could just bolt two V6s together.
Yeah. So Alfa Romeo were running a V12. Equipe Talbot Gitane, perhaps the most French team ever to enter Formula 1, were running a Mapra V12, and Ferrari were running a V6.
Ferrari were running a V6 turbo.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with a V6 turbo.
Exactly.
Because we all
This
know
one's
Ferrari
probably better than the
V6
current ones.
to the kind of engine that they're using today within the power unit. And Candy Tulliman, who you'll remember as a particularly legendary Formula 1 outfit, were running a Hart L4 turbo.
Yeah, their turbo wasn't
L4
great.
very successful in Formula 1.
Well, look, an overtake.
We're starting to figure out how to make turbocharged engines last a Grand Prix distance, because they always had potential, these turbocharged cars.
But
The trouble was they were a bit flimsy.
But the thing is, a lot of reasons why, like, besides reliability, it's just outright power. The thing that really made the turbocharged cars take off in the early 80s was the introduction of electronic fuel injection, like first by Bosch. And once you started to be able to really control, like, how ignition, like how the fuel was ignited in the cylinders at a faster rate, you could pretty much get as much power as you wanted before the engine fell apart.
And it did.
Can we just discuss the rate of attrition this year during the championship? Because Williams Ford ultimately won the constructors.
Yeah, they've already won it before this race.
Yeah, they have, so this is no spoiler. But they had 6 retirements over the season. Brabham Ford were second with...
Is he just counting?
It's a lot. And
It's a lot
13
of retirements.
Yeah, like it's a lot of retirements. I'm just counting up.
yeah, and not just that, but
and-
Brabham, Renault, Ligier, second, third, fourth in the championship, have multiple failures to qualify.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
And Renault have one did not qualify. So Brabham have one didn't qualify, and 13 failures. Renault have one didn't qualify and 15 failures. And Ligier have 2 didn't qualify, and 17 retirements.
Yeah.
Over 7.
Tomboy only finished one race this year.
It is incredible to think that Rene Arnoux, Hector Rabake, Eddie Cheever, Nigel Mansell missed a race.
Who did not qualify.
Patrick Tambay missed the field for one of these.
Like, when people talk about a lack of reliability now, it is absolute rubbish.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, sometimes I wish we had the attrition of the early 80s, you know what I mean?
I mean,
What
it
made
did
Austria
definitely
the
spice
same?
things up and you would get different results, but it was because, like, 4 cars finished. Oh, we've got some special adverts, I think, maybe?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's just the radio coverage now. Here we go.
Oh, the ghost
There
thing
we
is
go.
fixed.
We're back.
Now, we are before the invention of replays, right? So that guy who crashed, we're just never going to talk about him again, right?
Oh, I
No,
know
we're never
why
gonna-
he
we're
crashed.
never
I can
gonna
tell you
talk about
why.
him.
Oh yeah, fill me in.
This broadcast.
Okay, hang on, I'll find it. He was tagged by Andrea de Cesaris in one of the hairpins,
No.
spun round. That then caused a puncture. And as he was heading onto the back straight, the tyre failed and he was spat into the tyre barrier.
You wouldn't see that kind of thing now.
Of course, at
Absolutely
Grand
not.
Prix.
Yeah, de Cesaris famously doesn't crash.
Most of his retirements were mechanical.
Wow, I'm loving this.
Yeah, the cameraman got lost there.
It's really, it's really hard to get lost as a cameraman because any direction you point in, there are cars. You're
Yeah,
in a car
this was the
park.
perfect circuit for it.
Oh, I quite like the bus going along in the background there.
Yeah.
For
How
anyone
fast
else
you-
who's also about 4 seconds behind everyone.
How fast do you think that bus could take this circuit? About 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, bus racing is very competitive, and
Top Gear
buses
Pro.
have recently been converted increasingly to electric, and there is a couple of companies making electric traditional US school buses, because of course
That's
they've
cool.
got like a reasonable bed to do it, and actually gives them better centre of gravity because it puts all the weight at the bottom. I mean,
And we are watching Alan
I don't
Jones.
know.
Now Reutemann.
I mean, the thing with the bus is, you just need to finish the race, right? And you'll probably get some points. So it could, you know,
Who are they?
70 laps down doesn't matter. How many laps is this?
Who is coming up through the
Not that we can consider one.
75. 75, yeah, we've no idea what level we're on.
How about this battle we have?
This is for the championship.
World Championship races.
This is Reutemann fending off Piquet for the championship.
This is Carlos Reutemann's 10th season in Formula One. There has not been an Argentine world champion since the heyday of Juan Manuel Fangio, who is at this point the only 5-time champion of the world.
That's a record I can't beat. See being
Yeah, we've
beaten,
got to
RJ.
interrupt you for some
Absolutely.
more.
The battle for 6th, 7th position continues to rage between
that was
the
KK.
championship leader
Oh,
and
sorry.
who is second
No, no,
in
no.
the championship.
I'll just check in. We got so Reutemann's leading this pack.
Behind
You
them
saying?
in 9th position.
Yeah, Reutemann's, I believe, 6th at this point.
And where's PK, his main title rival?
Piquet's
Funny
right
you
behind
mention
him.
it. He is right behind him, and Andretti is coming too.
Andretti is smelling blood in the water.
Of course, Mario Andretti in the sunset of his world championship career, already a Daytona 500, Indianapolis 500 champion, Formula One world champion all the way back in '78. But he is starting to look towards the next generation and his young teenage son, Mike. Or Mike.
Yes, we're
Who is Mike?
Mike Andretti, very promising young American racing driver. I think he's going to have a great career ahead of him.
Yep.
I'm sure he'll win the 500.
I know, but yeah, we're in actuality we're 2 seasons away. 2 seasons away from Michael Andretti making his debut in IndyCar.
Which is a strange sentence to say. Of course, this is technically his retirement year. The
Does he know
As
it?
it is 90, as
For
well, yeah.
Attrition.
He's saying he's retiring from Formula One, but as it's 1981, we have no idea what he will do in the future, or particularly next year when a succession of Ferrari drivers get themselves killed or injured. There's just no way of knowing what he will do.
No way.
I would certainly hope that doesn't happen. I mean, I know these ground effect cars, they can be a little bit erratic at times, but I'd like to think they're still plenty safe.
Well, and Ferrari have historically never built a dangerous car or acted with an apparent disregard for their drivers' safety.
Yeah, and you know what else? They certainly have no history of allowing intra-team feuds to escalate to unhealthy levels.
Oh, absolutely
No,
not.
None whatsoever.
That's not them. That's not Maranello.
No, they're famously good at driver management. It's the whole thing.
Some more Datsun and Nissan billboards. And Coors, the silver bullet. So if it's just Coors, it's just the banquet beer.
So to talk about a little bit of the historic context of this race, obviously coming to you from 1984, we know a little bit about what's going on. Some of our delay was just researching and verifying that we were in the right week of 1981. There's various things happening, sporting and otherwise. The UK #1 song in this week is "It's My Party."
Something I'm sure that Reutemann will be singing after he wins the championship this race.
Yes, of course, yes, and definitely not the Dave Stewart and Barbara Gaskin version, which is slightly different. But yes, here we are. Positions after 11 laps now.
Yeah.
This is what passes for the live timing, I guess.
Yeah, we don't need on-screen graphics. We just need that every 11
We don't
laps.
need fancy.
It's about as regular as the F1 app live timing updates. So
We don't need no Amazon Web Service insights, whatever the hell those are. We don't need StatCast powered by the Google Cloud.
We don't need onboard cameras.
Now, I did notice Reutemann and PK not in the points at the moment, but Lafitte is. He's got a couple of points.
Yeah, Lafitte does need to win, and he's in the bottleneck behind Villeneuve at the moment.
Well, that's fine, because when the first round of many pit stops come.
Oh yeah, mandatory pit stops are totally a thing in this race.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be any minute. Pirelli have given us the data. Well, Pirelli, Michelin, Avon, Bridgestone, Goodyear, they've all given us the information.
Well, I think Ferrari have seen some progress dumping the flat 12, going to this turbocharged V6, and man, you want to talk about these two races that Villeneuve especially won, at Monaco and at Spain, where he just held everybody off. Those are two of the most entertaining wins that I can think of off of memory.
Absolutely, he really proved his defensive credentials on those races.
Oh, and
As he is
RJ,
today.
RJ, speaking of recent events, considering that it's mid-October, you know what it is. It is baseball's postseason.
The National Dadsketball Association.
So, at this point, the New York Yankees had swept the Oakland Athletics to go to the World Series. And I'm not getting too ahead of myself. The Yankees hadn't won a World Series since 1978. But, you know...
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
3 whole years.
Yeah, I think they're going to get the trophy back, and we won't have to wait 20 more years till the Yankees win a World Series.
No, I think this is, the end of all the pain for everyone. In other sporting news, I think Swansea is leading the English Premier League.
Yes, that is right. With a 2-1 victory over Stoke City, Swansea City are top of the English First Division, leading by a single point over Tottenham Hotspur. Now, Tottenham did win their most recent match 2-0 over Sunderland. Ipswich Town are third in this table, and Nottingham Forest are fourth in the table.
And as I'm sure you can see on the screen at the moment, PK is overtaking, or attempting to overtake Reutemann again.
Yeah.
Oh, this is huge. Carlos
For
Reutemann.
them both. If they crash, they might not finish.
They've got to be careful, but neither of them are in the points at the moment.
If neither one of them finishes in the points, it's to Reutemann's benefit because Lafitte is not in a position where he can win the championship.
So it's PK's job to pass him.
Absolutely.
Where does PK need to place ultimately to take?
And he goes through. Oh no, he's lapping. That's Jones lapping Sierra. Hang on, I'll find you out where. I believe he just needs to finish one place ahead. I can't remember when.
So he just needs to be in the points and ahead.
No, Reutemann had more second places. He needs to be 2 places ahead. He needs to score 2 points.
So it's game on.
It's game on.
Meanwhile, 6,000 miles away, it's Kimi Räikkönen's second birthday.
Wow. That's it.
Oh, look at that fashion.
Oh, look
He's
at those
pointing to himself on the screen there. Look, we're on
That's
TV.
me. Oh, he's trying to play limbo.
Oh, hello.
Those aren't.
Hello. This is an attempt to send PK with the championship on the line, trying to
with
get
the
around
dive
Carlos
bomb.
Reutemann. It's
I'm
like
really
a
glad they cut to some randos there because otherwise we might have seen what was going on in there.
Oh yeah, you can't do that. You've got to have the action hidden by concrete barriers.
Latin American football rivalry, Argentina versus Brazil. And it's playing out in a Formula One Grand Prix circuit. So, to give you the first division fixtures, Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0, Aston Villa 3, West Ham United 2, Brighton and Hove Albion and Liverpool tie at 3-3. Everton 2, Ipswich Town 1, Leeds United 3, West Bromwich Albion 1, Manchester United, Birmingham City tie 1-1, Nottingham Forest 2, Coventry City 1, Southampton 3, Notts County 1, Swansea City 2, Stoke City 1, as mentioned, Tottenham Hotspur 2, Sunderland 0, and Wolverhampton and Middlesbrough a 0-0 draw in the first division.
Ooh, you took me back to sitting in the car when the news came on.
And I'm sure they'll be dancing in the streets of Total Network Solutions.
Oh, Lord.
In the turbocharged British car with its Hart engine and its very new quick Pirelli tires is still in the running.
Okay, we forgot to mention as well, there is another league championship to be decided that is still ongoing at this very moment. In fact, we have confirmation that the Los Angeles Dodgers have won 7-1 to force a Game 5 in the 1981 National League Championship Series against the Montreal Expos.
Oh man, I was hoping the Spos would make it to the series, but if we do have to face the Dodgers, they're going down. They should have never left Brooklyn.
The bitterness in your voice.
They deliberately proposed a stadium that was so far-fetched and impossible to build just so they could get the fuck out and go to Los Angeles.
I wonder where King's from. I've got no idea.
The greatest city in the world.
The greatest city in the world.
Seeing this chess match develop.
PK's lining up a move here.
PK has been trying to line up this move for a while. I gotta say, there are very few
Can
places
Andretti take advantage into the final
look at
corner?
PK. What a move! What a dive bomb! Can he make it stick? Yes, he does!
can.
Nelson PK takes the position!
Well, it's game on now, surely.
Can Andretti follow him through into the first corner? Yes, he can. What's happened to Reutemann here? He's lost all confidence.
Oh my goodness, what a heartache for Carlos Reutemann.
Falling away. Literally, some of these cars seem to just fall apart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In response to a request from the chat for who was leading the NASCAR Winston Cup,
Yes, well, actually, I've got that right here. Daryl Waltrip, the young driver out of Franklin, Tennessee, has just won his third straight
not
race.
bothered to extensively Google this. No, it's okay. You're better at this, do it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have wasn't Waltrip ahead because he had won the race that is now in the future will be infamously known as the Roval.
That's great.
It's true.
That's true.
Caesar's Palace is a roval, by the way, for those keeping count.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, only 3 races left in the NASCAR Cup Series. Daryl Waltrip and Bobby Allison look like they're going to take this championship fight all the way to the last race of the season at Riverside International Raceway, which I am now told is a shopping complex, mixed-use development. I don't know. Whatever happened to Riverside International Raceway? Former F1 venue.
Yes. Also, world news from the week. Earlier this week, former Vice President of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak, was elected president after the assassination of Anwar Sadat at the start of the month. Hopefully his presidency won't last. Hopefully his presidency will be very successful.
I'm sure it won't last about 40 years, no.
Now, talk me through Alan Jones, because he's won the World Championship the previous year. He's leading this race, and yet he's not one of these 3 contending drivers that we mentioned at the top.
I mean, he just had a lot of bad luck with retirements, really.
Yeah, but you guys just told me that everyone else retired at least 3 times, didn't qualify, barely turned.
That's true. He had some mechanical failures.
Well, I mean,
completely binned
amongst the front runners, he could still take 3rd place in the championship and get
Absolutely,
that
he's only a couple
coveted
points
position
behind.
of picking up something at the FIA Gala if the FIA Gala existed. At the
Oh,
time.
it has always existed since the dawn of time, Hazel.
Just before the FIA.
So yes, he is still fighting for 3rd.
Okay, well, that's good, because we should get used to people fighting for 3rd.
We really should. In a bit of a championship update, PK has been passed by Andretti and is now back down to 8th.
Okay, oh. So,
Well, that would do him no good.
I'm assuming you got the live timing up, Josh.
Oh yeah, F1 TV.
This live timing. What is Formula One TV? Well, I mean, we're watching Formula One on TV right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Is it like MTV? Music television. What a good idea.
What an exciting concept.
Alan Jones, sadly, out of title contention. Canada was his last chance.
Oh, who's that off the road? It looks like a Brabham. It's Rabac. It's Rabac's Brabham.
Hector Rabaque, the Mexican sensation, and his future uncertain for 1982. Will he stay in Formula One? Will he go to IndyCar?
IndyCar looks like a good prospect for retiring F1 drivers. Yeah, Rabac was not the talent Brabham were hoping he would be, but he did bring some cash.
Overall, Brabham have not had the season that they were probably hoping for.
But, you know, it could all be undone. It could all turn around if Nelson Piquet wins the world title.
What is a... Oh. You know, this season was so long ago that there are classifications that I was like, what does that mean? Because you no longer see them. Which was the 2... I'm not sure which cars. 2 cars withdrew from one Grand Prix.
Oh,
that was from the French Grand Prix, wasn't it?
Yeah, from Lotus Ford.
Lotus. Oh yes, no, the Lotus is true from San Marino because that was the saga of the Lotus 88. Because they weren't allowed to bring Chapman's special chassis, so they flounced off.
Fair enough. There was only one DNS. Oh, sorry, there were 2 DNSs throughout the season, which actually is fewer than this season in Formula 1, I think, or at least equals. No, it equals this season in Formula 1. So, which is also running to 17 races, of course. So, I mean,
they're just parallels up and down the data list.
Absolutely.
Are we back to the Villeneuve Trulli train?
We absolutely are. Jarno Trulli is the Gilles Villeneuve of his day.
I've always thought so.
Yeah.
What I love about
I like the look of the red car.
The Ferrari or the one behind it?
The Ferrari actually looks quite nice here.
Oh yeah.
It's a nice red.
It's that red that they used it, or they might use if Ferrari make it to a 70th Grand
1,000 Grand Prix.
year and 1,000 Grand Prix. They might reuse that red.
Oh, there's an overtake.
Well, let's not look at it though, because
let's
spoil ourselves.
There's an overtake, and it's off the camera.
Yeah, because I mean, there's going to be a timing update in probably 10 minutes or so. So
yeah,
I mean,
about 10 laps time.
You don't want to know what's going on before then. I also like the big candy logo. It's got major 80s vibes, and
yeah, I'm sure whoever drives that in 1983 will put it to good use.
I like how inventive they've been with their liveries, considering the only 2 invented colours were white and red at the time.
Yeah, Malra brought half the grid. Briefly some
I just want to be
graphics.
clear, that's just something that happens during the early stages of a racing series lifetime. And at some point there is just white and red, but eventually other colours will be allowed back.
And that's Villeneuve. Villeneuve off the road.
Villeneuve raced down from 3rd. What a heartbreaking end to his 1981 season. What a disappointment.
That's going to free things up for Giacomelli, though. Let's see how fast he can go now. He's not stuck behind.
He's just been passed by Lafitte. Lafitte's up into 3rd now. 2 more spots and he's world champion.
Is that another tragic failure by the turbocharger?
I believe he spun, actually. Yeah, it's still moving. I think he just spun off. Oh no, Ferraris famously don't spin.
No. Who do you think is the best named driver of this year?
One with the best name.
Yeah, because Jan Lammers is obviously quite...
Jan Lammers does slap. Ricardo Londono.
Yeah.
But I think I have to give it to Slim Borgard.
Does he the friend of ABBA?
So it sounds like the rapper that acts as the hype man for ABBA.
On lap 25, Alan Jones is on lap 25. In 2nd place it is still Alain Prost, but now the bung has been well and truly...
Like the look of this Alain Prost character.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he'll achieve much. I think he's been
Let's give Alain Prost his fair due. I mean, he's still very young. It's only his 2nd season. He just came over from McLaren, and I gotta say, the combination of Alain Prost and the French constructor Renault, I feel like there are many championships ahead for this duo.
Andretti and Villeneuve are side by side. Look at them down the main straight.
Is there a main straight?
Yeah, this is the main straight.
That was it. It's a bit bendy, but, you know.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's...
Giacomelli holds him off. What can Piquet do?
Piquet trying to sneak a peek under the inside of Mario Andretti. Is this going to be his final Grand Prix start?
He doesn't get it through. Giacomelli, they hold station.
I see, Hazel, you won't understand this, but sometimes when you build a temporary track in the middle of a city, you can't always have a big long straight. You've got to make do with what you got.
Oh, yeah, no.
This circuit does need more chicanes.
I wouldn't know anything about that. Yeah, sometimes you've just got to use a sort of parabolic or something.
Or a
when you're just
Peraltada.
together in a car park. To be fair, I might have put a few more barriers in.
Nah,
Yeah,
too
I-
expensive. This track already
Yeah,
costs
that's
$10
true.
million to build. We don't have that kind of money, Hazel.
The ship sailed all the way from Dubai.
They shipped what?
It didn't, but hey, that's where all the money went.
Just looking at the 1981 season, obviously we're drawing to a close of it, so there's some stories that we should wrap up over the course of it. One of which is Emilio Di Viotta, who entered a single Grand Prix this year and was excluded from it
Yeah.
in Spain.
Because he
But
was entered.
perhaps even less edifyingly, Ricardo Lodano, Colombian racer, also entered a single Grand Prix in Brazil and did not practice, therefore was excluded.
I'm gonna find out
Which
why
I
he
assume
didn't turn
means
up.
that he was unable to participate in a practice session, which
No.
is any session prior to the race session in Formula One qualifying.
He took part in the acclimatization session and recorded competitive lap times, but he hit Keke Rosberg and so was not granted a super license.
Whoa!
KK Rosberg, who had a shocker of a season, he finished 3 races, all of them outside the points.
Yeah,
And
there's no hope for him next year.
No, he retired 5 times and didn't qualify 5 times.
Yeah, Hazel, there's a boy band on screen, so we're gonna have to be distracted for a second.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Now, why the Brabham standing on their tyres?
I
Is this a
think they're
political
about to,
statement?
I think
No,
PK's gonna pit in a minute and they're gonna play human pinball.
Okay.
Other than the fact that they are probably going to come second, so they're all standing each on 2 tyres.
Yeah, it's a new egalitarian podium.
Or in the famous NASCAR, parlance of pitting for 2 tyres, they're just paying tribute to Great American Racing.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this very long stuff. Oh, who's that off the road? That looks like an Alfa Romeo.
It looks like
All I can see
we
is
can't
a
tell
way.
who it is.
It's the restrooms.
It's
It's the restrooms. The
being
restrooms are
dug out wherever
available.
it is.
Give the man some
That's
privacy.
Andretti. That's Giacomelli off the road.
That's Giacomelli passing Mark.
Giacomelli's off the road. Andretti inherits 4th place.
Oh, it's all over.
It's all over now. After nearly winning the final race of 1980, he's thrown it away here in 1981.
I fear he won't get another chance of this.
Absolutely not.
Why
Yeah,
is there a sign for the restrooms on the inside of the track, though?
Well, the camera operators might need to know where to go.
I guess drivers, maybe they don't just be in their seats.
Or they just want the crowd to go in the casino a bit more. Ooh, Datsun.
Datsun, Goodyear.
But this
When
is
I was
quite in
born-
for PK now.
When I was born, 2 years from now, my dad had a Datsun. A Datsun Cherry.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, okay.
What did you think of the Datsun?
Like all cars at the time, it was just, would just slowly rusted away and became more like rattly with time. So it was kind of at that stage of its life.
Did it have mice in?
Not to my knowledge, but they might have kept that from me.
Because most of the cars I remember from the 80s are larders, but well, in fact, all of the cars I remember from the 80s are larders. But in the early 90s, my mum had a Horizon that was a sort of weird gold that was quite popular as a car colour at the time, rather than like weird silver as we tend to have now, and was really prone to having mice in it. So,
I love that we all come from strong motoring backgrounds.
ran on 4-star, which I'm sure your dad Statson did as well. Just to shock the young people.
I don't think anybody in my family has ever owned a Nissan/Datsun product, though my partner does drive a Nissan Versa, which is of course the sister model to the Nissan Topsa and the Nissan Bottomsa.
So who are we looking at now?
That's Jones, about 18 seconds in the lead.
Oh, well, that's a big recovery for him.
Yeah, here we go.
There we go. 18
Exactly
seconds.
18 seconds in the lead, as if by magic.
Look at the field spread. They've got to sort
He's
this
never
out
get
over the
that.
next 40 years.
Yeah,
I mean, this aero is getting out of control.
it really
Body
is.
aero, it's really, the data, yeah, is insane.
It really
I mean, it's a big
is.
potential result for this kid, Pross.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, Watson's in the pits. That's McLaren, who also run Michelin's. Could the Michelin's be wearing down?
in America, no doubt.
On a
No.
street circuit.
No way.
Oh, that's the Cesaris there, out
Yeah.
of the race. It's not been
Yeah,
a good
there's-
lap for McLaren.
There's no urgency around De Cesaris' car, but they are changing tires for John Watson.
Watson's going to keep going.
Yep, he's
Of
got
course,
an
the-
active.
I like the way every season McLaren at some point just choose their favourite driver and just go like, we don't.
Oh yeah, De Cesaris has already been fired, but he's got a lot of Marlboro money, and I mean, he could be making an appearance at a Marlboro team next year.
You know what I heard? And don't take my word for it, but I
Oh, I
heard
won't.
that there was.
Oh, that's Andretti. That's a rear suspension explosion.
What is this camera move?
They hadn't invented stabilization, King.
I like the ice cream truck masquerading as an ambulance in the middle of the
And it is
track.
all over for Mario Andretti. Is this how the 78 World Champions Formula One career comes to an end as he looks underneath the car for presents?
He's trying to find his rear suspension arm at the moment, I think. Oh, the skirt's come off as well from where it's been dragging on the ground.
Oh,
Well,
that
take your
happens
time,
quite a lot
Mario.
when you're going
Yeah,
on
you're not on a live racetrack or anything.
What I love is the occasional just switching to a different camera angle for about a half a second, just to keep you on your
Yeah,
toes.
it's great. It's subliminal broadcasting. Yeah. Ooh, a shout out to Birmingham there because Mansell was on the screen. Look forward to more of that.
How about this Nigel Mansell in his second F1 season, his first full season, as a matter of fact?
In a Lotus that has not been competitive, he's pulled out some pretty good results.
And I'm sure success will be quick to come for Nigel Mansell. That he
Oh,
won't
yeah.
have to work a long time to work his way into contention for victories and championships.
Of course, I mean,
It's been a while since we've had a competitive British driver in F1.
yeah, Lotus have been less than competitive the last couple of years, but I mean, Mansell got a podium in Belgium this year. There's signs of hope for Lotus.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's really nice. Does he have this horrible his distinctive facial hair?
He does have the moustache at this point, I do believe. Of course, he's still feeling the effects of that broken vertebrae from that crash at Brands Hatch a couple of years ago in F3000.
But this is 1981, and that's how all drivers get into F1. They all start with like a almost murderous injury in a junior formula. That's how
Oh
you start.
yeah.
Oh, and Josh, speaking of junior formula,
One
have I
got a driver for you.
Oh yes, because I'll tell you what, there is one Alpha that's out of the race, but as Bruno Giacomelli tries to claw his way through the field, I mean, he has an impressive resume in the lower formula.
I mean, his 1978 European Formula 2 season is going to be a record that stands for, I mean, at least until 2021, I'd say.
Really?
I mean, 8 wins from 12 races, the only driver to win in his car. All of his teammates barely even got podiums. It was a phenomenal season.
I like that.
beating drivers such as Keke Rosberg, who I'm sure he'll come to great successes at some point.
Well, yeah, Keke just needs a change of scenery, and there is a vacancy coming up at Williams, we believe, because
Jones
Alan
is
Jones.
retiring.
Yes, he did. He said He said at Canada that this would be his last race in Caesar's Palace. Alain Prost peels out of the pit lane in his turbocharged Renault.
That's a Renault, another car running Michelin's. I believe they are fading.
That is the Frenchest car on the track.
Apart from the Ligier.
Is that on the track?
Well, it's all over the track. And the feet's still going.
So, of these drivers, we're beginning to think that the Michelins might be failing. Which teams should we be concerned about? The kind of ability to manage the tyres and whether they're going to make it to the end of the race or even in an orderly fashion.
Well, I mean, the cars running Michelin's are a particular risk.
I was wondering if anyone, for instance, yourself, Josh, might have a list of the cars who were at the time running Michelin.
Of course, that is Alfa Romeo equipped turbo guitars, the Ferraris, which of course is only Pironi now, and he's about a lap behind. Marcella, although they never matter.
Yeah, they're still a young team. They're still getting it together.
Oh no, of course McLaren, but yeah, no, Marcella. There's some hope. They need a lot of funding though.
Yeah, I mean, Asella this year have had more DNQs than retirements, so that's positive for reliability.
That is positive, and well, I mean,
and one of their drivers withdrew from the French Grand Prix, but they did also have 2 8th place finishes, which is almost in the points.
That is almost in the points. And I mean, they've had they've had more DNQs than last year, but they've had more. Every finish has been higher than their single finish last year, so that's something.
But they've had fewer DNQs than Tolam and Hart, and they've managed to enter more Grand Prix than them.
They have.
Tolam and Hart, at the end of this year, were one of 4 teams not score any points at all. Tolam and Hart, Asella Ford, Fittipaldi Ford, and March Ford all came away completely empty-handed. And Tolam and Hart scored a massive.
Or Hazel counting.
22 DNFs over
22. Oh wow!
Races that they managed to actually enter.
That is impressive.
They did have 1 finish in 10th place and 1 retirement. Whereas Asella Ford only had.
First in the Argentine Grand Prix, that's Reutemann, and he's got Prost right behind him. Carlos Reutemann.
Reutemann's under pressure from Prost once again. Prost having pit, he's on fresh tyres. It should be quite easy for him.
Actually, you know what? It was also really bad at Asella Ford. I don't think we want to talk about this.
No, I think we should actually hear so.
17 DNQs.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
Just crossed through past Pico.
I mean, it has to be said that Williams are the only team, apart from Ferrari and McLaren, not, and Alfa Romeo actually,
to have all their cars
suffer a DNQ.
Qualify for every race, exactly.
Although Alfa Romeo are relatively down in the championship and are not having a sterling year,
Alfa Romeo
perhaps one lucky driver could turn that all round.
I mean, that would be Well, there's only one left in the race, and he's still down in 10th.
For Alfa Romeo right now.
It would be incredible. The first for nearly 30 years. But I mean, he's nearly a minute behind at this point, Giacomelli. In fact, he's over a minute behind. He's about a minute and 12 behind. He's nearly been lapped by Jones.
Well, it's not going to be his day, is it? Let's be honest.
It looks like they've blown another season ender. But here comes Prost charging past Mansell.
Why you've made us watch this race as Bruno Giacomelli's #1 fan? I mean, surely this must be quite heartbreaking for you.
I mean, it's less heartbreaking than the previous year, where he led the first 31 laps before retiring with an ignition coil failure from the lead of the race.
Maybe we can watch that one next year.
I think they're just making these Formula One engines too complicated.
They are
adding forced induction. Well, back in the good old days. Back in the good old days, we didn't have forced induction and electronic fuel honestly, you just need to bring the carburetors back. Give everyone just this big honking 1.5 liter V12 engine. And then the racing will be much more competitive.
Yeah,
I mean, at least the V8.
induction.
I mean, you can see just from this season that giving the majority of the field, the vast majority of the field, the same V8,
it works.
Yeah, it works.
really improves reliability.
Yeah, forced induction
F1 should become a spec series, yeah.
Yeah, forced induction is just that jalopy IndyCar trash we don't need in Formula One.
Exactly. IndyCar famously also a spec series, and look how competitive they're doing at the moment.
Whoa! At the present moment.
No, King, they are.
What's the best car park that IndyCar has raced at?
Oh, Meadowlands in about 4 years' time.
Well, according to Mario Andretti, it was Caesar's Palace.
Of course.
Okay.
IndyCar, of course, being the only championship to race in 2 car parks throughout their history.
Whoa! There's a long list of car parks.
Another series might arrive, and this is looking into the far future. But I think
into the new millennium, maybe.
Yeah. So bear with me. This is quite out there, but. You know how we keep having oil crises and inventing electric cars again?
Yeah. I mean, the last oil crisis nearly ended Bruno Giacomelli's career.
Oil crises. We're going to have to really invent electric cars.
Wow.
Electric cars?
So what are you saying that fuel is going to rise to about 75 cents per gallon in the United States?
Whoa, sounds like hippie scaremongering to me.
Yeah, that will never happen.
Next thing you know, they're going to say that gas is going to end the world.
Yeah, the world's going to boil or whatever.
The UK's going to join and then leave the EU.
What's the EU, Hazel?
Yeah,
and
I only know European communities.
Yeah, the ECC, thank you very much.
Everyone, but the Soviet Union's going to start exploding.
Oh shit! USA! Ignore the shirt, USA!
We didn't have Formula One on telly in the Soviet Union. You'll be shocked to know.
That's why the Soviet Union's going to collapse.
That's why it collapsed.
Yeah.
But yeah, think about it. In the future, we'll have cars that don't even need wheels. They'll just float above the ground like they do on the Jetsons.
Oh yeah, probably in 2015.
That's my favourite documentary.
Popular, soon to be released, I think, film Star Wars? No, it was already released. Oh.
Yeah, there's loads of flying people in Star Wars.
I enjoyed watching Star Wars 2 maybe 4 years ago.
I can't wait to be born in about 20 years.
Oh, don't do that.
I don't know about y'all. But I'm really looking forward to the sequel to Halloween 2, coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, what a film. I'm sure it'll really capture the magic of the original.
Axe Killer Boogaloo.
Look, there's PK.
Back to the thrilling on-track action before we
there's been so much of
entirely
it.
make like a Sky commentary team and check
Alan
out.
Jones leading the race.
Yeah.
Still leading.
I mean, this would be a great way for Alan Jones to end his career, of course. A champion who's had a bad season this year, but who is, of course, going out on a mega high.
I mean, he'd win his last race in Formula 1. What's a better send-off than that?
Absolutely could not see
I mean,
him.
I imagine it would have kept Fernando Alonso at bay if he'd been allowed to do that.
No, he had enough points, Hazel. I mean, he will have had enough points, Hazel.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, sorry, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's probably not born yet or whatever.
You should know he's about 5 months old.
Oh,
Why are we getting so excited about 5-month-old F1 prospects? I mean, I know Jeff Lees is out there just killing it in Formula 2 this year.
nah, forget Formula 2. Next week.
Who was the youngest driver this year? Do we know?
it might have been De Cesaris. Hang on, I'm going to find
I
out.
think it was De Cesaris because he was famously quite young.
Yeah, he didn't crash though, famously.
Like what, about 35 or something?
Well, no, he's still in his early 20s. Is
Yeah, he's 22 this year.
Wow.
My goodness.
Goodness me, there won't be anyone that young until Jensen Button, which is a made-up name from the space age.
Yeah, that's not a real name.
Yeah. Back to the real world. Next week, you can enjoy the broadcast of penultimate round of the 1981 Kart PPG IndyCar World Series, the Copa Mexico from Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez.
Oh, man.
Circuit
I
of
love
Kart Americas.
And that's not even.
Stick with me, King, because I've got an idea. Because Rick Mears has been a dominant force in IndyCar this year. What if he went to Brabham if they have a vacancy?
I don't know about that one.
I might get a test lined up for him.
I think Kart is certainly going places. If they can come to an agreement with the Speedway to get the 500 as a rounded championship, Kart could really stake a claim at being the world championship for open wheel cars.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, they've got a promising product, and I think Rick Mears can be a driving force, and certainly, especially in all disciplines of circuits. Because I can't foresee anything happening to him that would challenge his dominance on road and street courses. Ovals, I mean, he's got that back.
But I mean, hey, Mario's retiring from Formula 1. He didn't say from racing. Maybe come back.
Come
In
back.
fact, in a pit lane interview, he's already said, "I'm not retiring from anything," which, considering he's already retired from the race, is a lie.
So I'm just thinking about these cars that we're.
I can't see any cars.
No.
When we could see the cars, which is now just a memory, because what is going on? Where is that being filmed from? It's giving me. Oh, here's a car. So these cars, they obviously don't look like modern F1 cars. They don't look like the toy racing cars that I had as a child. They look like weird, wide things. To be honest, they look overwhelmingly like they're at this specific location in order to hoover up the dust for another racing series later. My God, I'm so glad those graphics that flashed up informing me. This was the Caesar's Palace. I mean, if you think that there's pointless information during F1 now,
I mean, that time was 5 minutes before the time they showed at the start of the broadcast.
Yeah, that's
I'm really
what
not sure. It said 1:10 at the start of the broadcast.
We've actually gone back. There we go. They actually managed to show the wrong
Passes
time.
PK. Cross passes PK. PK can still win the championship from here.
So I'm assuming
I'm
this
glad that they've updated to the fact that the time is actually an hour and 5 minutes later.
So I'm assuming that this is it's 2:12 local time, meaning in Britain it'd be 7:12.
Wow, that's a prime time viewing for the United Kingdom.
I just did the time conversion completely wrong and was like, well, nobody's going to got up for this shit.
I'm just thinking, like, what else is there on primetime television in the UK? I mean, I can't really know, like, what?
Top of the Pops.
Well, this is Saturday. It's 7 o'clock, so there'll be the Generation
Yeah.
game, I think.
Yes, there'd be the old grey whistle test.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh.
Top of the Pops is on a Friday, so that wouldn't be happening. There would be, quiz shows like the Generation Game. There'd be popular music shows, like the Old Grey Whistle Test, which is a bizarrely named music show, but was sort of considered a little bit more credible than Top of the Pops, which was the chart-oriented show, and that was basically it because we only had 2 channels.
Doctor Who, of course, was going strong at the time.
Of course. Who's the Doctor
Was
at this
Doctor Who
point?
not on Sundays?
I mean,
I think it would be.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it being on tomorrow then, starring
Yeah.
Tom Baker.
Oh, it's Tom Baker at the moment, isn't it? That's true.
I just think, like, you know, what if, and this is a far-fetched idea, but what if we had, like, a cooking competition on primetime television? That would be kind of...
That would never work. Maybe we could theme the title around racing, call it like Ready, Steady, Cook or something.
Oh yeah, that's actually probably a lot of the UK doesn't have any power.
So also,
Oh yes, the 80s,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
also,
Ooh, look, Jones is 45 seconds ahead.
believe it or not, as we watch this race, as this race is being broadcast in the United States on NBC, on rival network ABC, they're showing on ABC's Wide World of Sports, they're showing technically tape delay. Originally was broadcast live in theaters. They're showing a tape delay of the welterweight championship bout between Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns, which took place at Caesar's Palace.
Oh, Sports Monopoly.
Yeah.
Simultaneous heavyweights going at it.
America had 4 channels and 2 of them were showing content from Caesar's Palace.
And
We
Saudi
should have
Arabia
held the match in the middle of the circuit to be honest.
season.
King, I honestly thought you were going to say this is on NBC, and simultaneously on ABC they're showing Biden's first attempt at going for the presidency. Because that can't be that far off.
Oh,
No.
Lord.
It must be 1986 or something.
Yeah.
We can only
I just
look
learned-
forward to it.
Yeah.
We're a few weeks in here in the UK into the first ever seasons of both Danger Mouse and Bullseye.
And
Yes.
Wow,
since-
bullseye.
Oh, is It's a Knockout in operation at that point? At this point, because if so, this might well be the competing program in the UK.
That's true.
It could be.
Oh,
It
Lord.
doesn't come up.
Josh has said it's true, as though he knows what It's a Knockout is.
Hey, I'm aware that it was hosted by, I believe, one of the people arrested under Operation U-Tree.
I should
think
point
it
out,
was.
since Stuart, you mentioned it, later this week on NBC, Bob Hope would host a gala to celebrate the opening of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Library and Museum. So, not only will the Fords be there, Gerald and Betty Ford, but the current First Family, President Ronald Reagan and First Lady Nancy Reagan.
Oh, they're my favourite.
The overlap of the Reagan and Thatcher administrations across the Atlantic.
In overlooked history, the AIDS crisis is beginning to reach a critical point within various populations.
Critical?
Uh,
Nah.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
They'll be
Reagan's
fine.
got this, you guys.
Yeah,
Reagan's got this.
Reagan's got this.
Thatcher's got this, everybody.
Prost just past the feet. Prost just got past
Oh,
the feet.
yep. He's through.
Prost's back up to second place.
And Jacques Lafitte's slim hopes of taking this championship are
Lafitte's
drastic.
running the Michelins, but he hasn't stopped. Prost has, and he's
pretty good.
Oh, yes.
Prost on those fresh tyres is
Ernie
absolutely
Ecclestone.
Bernard.
You know, I like Bernard Ecclestone's vision of Formula One, and I'm sure he's always
How
going to
is
stay
Bernard
with
Ecclestone
us.
looking that tall?
He's standing on a box.
Yeah.
He's standing on 2
He's
tyres.
standing on two.
I think it's 3 tyres for him, Stuart.
That wasn't even the right spelling of his name. We're not going to see much longer. These problems are not doing well.
Well, at the time they were assuming he'd be a bit of a cumberbatch. You know, they could just be like Benedict Eccles cake, and that's
Stop
you know.
calling
I
him
mean,
that.
it's just another Brit, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not going to do anything.
No.
Benedict Ecclestone. Now, is he the guy that, like, most of Tumblr thought was, like, unreasonably hot for, like, a good 18 minutes?
Yes, I believe so. But
What's
an
Tumblr?
elongated version.
Tumblr is the new PDF, Josh. I don't know if you've heard.
I've not heard of PBF, actually.
Tumblr is a bit like Smash Hits, which is actually in a boom era at the moment. In that you can collect poster specials of your favourite pop stars or TV stars or whatever,
I mean, my
and you
rules were
can
adorned,
read
but-
interviews with them that are largely stolen from other publications.
Oh, well, I'm sure, particularly in motorsport journalism, that would never happen.
No, and it actually really delights motorsport journalists that the relatively diverse population of Tumblr do not go to websites and register their interest in our stories, instead choosing to read them quoted on Tumblr, even when they're freely available, so you should go and look at it, please.
Well,
The
people don't
clicks are
click
so
through
important.
links.
On links head.
Like,
And
you just click on the link, you can close it immediately after.
People don't read.
Just please click the link.
Chat is asking if this Tumblr is a bit like CFAX, maybe?
Actually, it's very much like that, and like sometimes you can get into, you know, when you end up in the bit of CFAX, which is a bit like a quiz.
Yeah, bamboozle.
It's like that, but all of your answers are wrong.
King and RJ, I don't. You have a different television thing going on there. Do you guys have the CFAX teletext thing on your tellies?
As a matter of fact.
Which,
I don't.
looking back, was the
Americans
internet.
have teletext.
No, that
really
did not exist in the United States because we in America invented the internet.
Yeah, but most of you are still on dial-up, so.
It's still.
And I mean-
I hear America's online.
Or in the future, you will still be on dial-up.
I heard this crazy dude who makes electric cars wants to give everyone satellite internet.
God.
Which of the
Sinclair.
crazy dudes make electric cars?
Why are there no
Charles
sane
Sinclair
dudes?
wants to give you all satellite internet.
Look, at the end of the day, I'm just amazed that there's a 24/7 television channel that broadcasts nothing but music videos.
Yeah.
He's still on MTV.
24/7, without any breaks to show you a little gun, the clown, nothing.
Absolutely.
Non-stop.
That's right.
Doesn't even show you Johnny Herbert talking about that crash he had at Brands Hatch. It not even show you that.
Nope.
No.
Speaking
No
of
racing drivers go-karting or anything.
well, for those of you following
Not anyone covered in milk.
I do have a wire from the realm of the Formula 2 circuit. It looks like our reigning champion Jeff Lees is going to take a plane over to Japan to race at Suzuka Circuit.
He's doing the Jaff Grand Prix.
Yes,
Suzuka? I can barely pronounce it. It's never going to.
Suzuka, I barely know her. Hey.
But I'll tell you this: over in the Japanese F2 circuit, they've got this kid Nakajima. He's driving a Honda-powered car, and I just think that if you get a manufacturer like Honda involved, it's really going to change the balance of power in F1. I mean, they were involved before, and I'm sure it'll go well again if they ever decide to come back.
Which Nakajima are we talking about?
Yes, that would be Satoru Nakajima. He's the ace driver for the team run by one Tetsuya Ikazawa, who raced in F2 back in the 70s. So
if he has a son, I'm sure he will also go on to great success.
Absolutely.
Do you think
Also,
Honda might back to F1?
Excuse me?
Do you think they might bring Honda back to F1 if he's successful?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's the plan. And again, if it goes well for Honda, I don't see them having any reason to leave whatsoever.
Oh, I'm sure they're in it for the long haul.
Because Honda's a company that's not bendable.
The 1980s is going to be one of the most stable decades where we're going to see pretty much nothing but good times.
Strong and
Just pure boom.
Hello, is that Giacomelli up into 6th? I see on
Maybe
the.
he's still 1 minute 12
Wait,
behind Jones.
Wasn't he nearly a lap down?
He still is nearly a lap down. But he's also in 6th place.
It's just that everyone else is retired.
Well, no, he's overtaken everyone else. They've just got even worse.
Okay, cool.
The Fit's really dropping back now. His Michelins are struggling.
Oh, whatever happened to Talbot? Or Talbot?
They become Ligier. Oh, look at that. Mansell actually overtook someone, and the camera's caught it.
Unbelievable.
Is that a Lotus just doing one?
It is a Lotus actually sending it. Also, Jones overtook Reutemann a couple of laps ago, and it's very funny that happened.
Oh my goodness,
He
Carlos
left his teammate who was fighting for the championship.
It's championship
By
dream.
overtook, do you mean lap?
Yeah, I did mean lap. Did I say overtaken?
Yeah.
It's an L for me.
But that is funny, and that's quality funny. For the championship leader to be doofed by in his retirement race. That's nice. That's a heartwarming motorsport story. Everyone likes that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing where you're sitting here writing like, God, I've got to write a race report. I hate it. I've got to fax it to somebody. Probably it's 1981, and that's in advance. So I've got to fax it to somebody rather than wire it. And I've got to write it in like 400 words, and like, Bulk knows what went on, but
The cameras didn't catch it.
overtook lapped Reutemann. That's a good narrative to have.
It really is. I mean,
Keep that in your back pocket for one of the paragraphs you could use. One of the sentences you could use.
And like, honestly, if you've read any of the race reports from the 1980s, unless you were at if you were at one of the major publications, if you were at like a newspaper, your race report's like 200 words. Like, you're writing like nothing.
How the hell are you going to condense this race into 200 words? I just don't see it happening.
so much is happening.
Look,
Oh mate, like I routinely have to write race reports that are sub 500 words. And like, aside from the fact that I think the race report, and this is going to be like, people are going to shout at me, but I genuinely think the race report, the session report, is the most redundant, most appalling bit of motorsport journalism at the minute. And that we need to
Hazel, I can't believe you're doing this to me.
Though, I
No. So yours is good, and you know I've re-edited yours and sent it back to you, and I know yours is good. But I think that the race report as a format in the post-physical print era is a totally different concept. Because aside from anything else, everyone's just watched the race and everyone has got live commentary off Twitter and whatever. So when people read the race report, they should be looking for something more like when I write a race report, I would like to write it like Screen White or something.
Though, admittedly, as someone who spends most of their time reading race reports from decades ago, I like having that detail. If that detail doesn't exist, technically it didn't happen.
Well, no, but the thing is, I would like to get into really big detail. But every time I do that, I get like smacked wrist. But I would like to write like a lively, personality-filled race report in the same way that you do a recap of a TV show. Because to me, that's what it actually should be. Because you can usually re-access the race footage and whatnot now.
Now you can't.
Whereas,
like, even though we don't know if we can now, like there could be a magical flood at Biggin Hill and it can all disappear.
We can't even show replays on the TV. That's why we're looking at this man doing this on his own.
Jones being unlapped. Oh, hello.
Oh, is this Mansell?
To catch up on things that happened while we were discussing things, Lafitte Pit.
Why is this happening?
Great.
And for those
special. This is special.
And for those watching along, we just passed the hour 20-minute mark on the timestamp. If you want to recalibrate.
So we're back.
And we're back. Here we go. The final stretch. Is Alan Jones going to win his final Formula One Grand Prix start that we know of? Is Nelson Piquet going to snatch the title away from Carlos Reutemann? I can hardly contain myself. The excitement is palpable.
What I think we need now is we need a load out of the...
Gonna get the most mentions.
What is I definitely would like to know where the positions are so I could know what the points situation is.
So would I, but sadly, we're not going to get that.
Oh, Lord.
I believe Giacomelli's...
we're going to get a close-up on some hoardings and the site of 2 Alfa Romeo.
They were McLaren's, Hazel. It's a
oh, right, I don't know.
mistake.
I thought both of the McLarens have retired, so how
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just that, you know, the livery's just so iconic, everyone wants to run it, right? That's how it works, right?
Right.
Exactly. The Marlboro livery.
Yeah.
Yes, also, I mean, obviously, if in the future I worked in Formula E, I'd be very used to sort of roughly 70% of the grid running that livery, so just, you know, if in the future that
maybe they might want to change it up a bit with some like light blue hues and some black, and maybe some like royal blue, some combination.
Yeah, so 30% of the grid have had a look in, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, blue is electricity, and that's very unique in our all-electric championship.
Yeah, they're the only team to run electricity.
All-electric championship in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't see electric cars getting that good, guys.
To co-found a website where we chose grey, black, and red as our colours. I'm sure we would be in no position to come.
That's inside-electric.com.
Well, what's a .com?
It's a .com.
It's like the real estate bubble we got going on now.
Oh man, we're
yeah,
gonna get another.
So basically, if you buy a racetrack, that's kind of your .com.
Dope.
What's an analogy?
Like, you know, if you buy it, particularly an oval, that's a .com. I love all this footage of Alan Jones. I think it's really beautiful that they're giving so much time to him.
Yeah, it's great. There's
on
nothing
his
else.
final race in F1. It's just that I think that perhaps 45 seconds behind him, there might be some fights going on. And I'm a little bit surprised that they're not showing them because Carlos Sainz isn't even born yet. So
they've got them to not show.
What, you mean the Spanish teenager that's going out doing road rallies?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. Well, I mean, he obviously wouldn't be involved in a Formula One race. But just supposing he had a son who was subsequently involved.
Yeah, I can't see it.
No.
That would never happen. I mean, next you're going to tell me that Gilles Villeneuve's going to have a son that wins a championship before he does. Next thing you're going to tell me that Nelson Piquet is going to have a son that throws away a race for the benefit of his teammate. I just can't see it.
And then wins the first championship in
a new all-electric series.
Formula Sinclair.
in a car park.
Oh man, isn't that college student championship that Formula Lightning they're talking about?
The old Formula Blitzen.
The best brain in motor racing these days. He's a superb tactician.
So
I like this is a good shot of the corner.
A great shot, yeah, lots happening.
Oh, who's this?
Is brilliant.
It's Jones again.
You actually can't see anything on track, but you could see some tyre lines, which shows how much the Michelins have been shedding.
It really does.
Like, if we're going to get deep
A
about
lot
that.
of wheel spin.
You know what? Not to get too.
So although it might have been 24 degrees C air temperature, I would warrant the track temperature, given that it's surrounded by reflective white sand, and is the only black surface nearby, is probably unbelievably high. It's probably well over 40 or 45.
Absolutely.
Just been crunching the numbers here, and a bit worried about Giacomelli, to be honest.
Oh, okay. That's great. So
He's got one good tyre. That's all I'm saying.
AWS.
Could you just give us a brief rundown of those figures, Stuart?
Yeah. So AWS did some number crunching for us, and his tiny front two tyres are now down to 20% due to the extreme heat. Luckily, his rear, I want to say left. It's a bit reversed in my mirror. It's still going strong.
Because this is an anti-clockwise circuit, of course.
Yeah, of course. And Stuart, do you want to roll a dice
so
for the
we're
next
running
number?
Widdish.
So, he's really got to nurse these tyres if he does want to hang on to that point position that he's now sitting in.
Well, Giacomelli's now in third because off-screen Lafitte has pitted and he's got past Mansell.
Oh, off-screen is where we do want to keep those things.
Yeah,
I mean, if Giacomelli was able to hold on to this,
this would be Alfa
that would
Romeo's.
be Alfa's first podium for more than 30 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
since
it would be
19...
his first podium as a driver in F1, and it's been such a long time coming for him.
Oh, absolutely. Ever since Watkins
After
Glen
his success
1980.
in the 1978 F2 season.
Oh, I mean, he had 10 from 12 races.
If only there was a book where we could read about this driver who's quite intriguing, but no one seems to have truly covered it.
No one's done that. Oh, no one's done that.
That would be silly.
That's okay. We'll return to the year 2020 at the end of this broadcast, where there might be a plug,
We are
or
getting the
there's a
time
possibility.
Oh, look, there's a timing tower. Oh, God.
And Giacomelli in third, Mansell in fourth, Piquet fifth, Watson a lap down in sixth place. So at the moment, Nelson Piquet is going to win the championship by just
You know
1
what?
point.
I think the gaps in current F1 are too big. Or by 2020, I think the gaps in F1 will be too big. I think, a 39-second gap is about right.
Yeah.
I think we should stop here and stay at simple V8s and not introduce turbochargers or electronics.
Oh no, turbochargers, that's the work of the devil.
I mean, we've seen it with Ferrari. It's worked the devil on them.
To me, this all started to go downhill the minute they decided to put wings on an F1 car.
Right.
I mean,
Right,
wings are...
I wanted to talk about this earlier. Like, let's talk about the way these cars look, right? Because they've got a front wing,
Ish.
like a kind of
Yeah, some of them do.
snap. Like this is like a Sonic villain mustache
It is,
of a
exactly.
front wing.
Love it.
And then they've got, the floor, They're wide. They're taking up a lot of space. Like if they were on a metro or tube carriage or like whatever with you, they'd be that guy who's got like 2 bags either side, and that's fine.
Oh, I thought he'd be the guy who's just
But
like,
they're
you know,
Oh no! I was just like, you know, they've got all
If
this
only
money,
someone would
you
invent
know,
a term
and
for
they're
that, King.
carrots. and they're kind of think about it, but it's crowded, and you're like, oh, Jesus. And then they've got the back wing, which is just kind of like a fat seal on the back of
The PH.
the car. Like it's fat. I don't know why it's so fat.
Well, that's
Like I'm not judging it for being fat. I love it. It's curvy. But I just it's a really fat front wing, back wing.
they need that drag,
no
otherwise
DRS.
they're going to take off, Hazel. I mean, they've got wings on now. Wings are for aeroplanes.
That's right. Wings are for aeroplanes, not for
True.
cars.
That's why they've got the Saudi sponsorship.
Yeah.
Caesar Palace Grand Prix.
oh.
See, for me, F1 went downhill as soon as they moved the engine to the back of the car. I mean, the horse pulls the carriage, it doesn't push it.
Okay, Signore Ferrari.
Josh Wilkinson, of course, primarily involved in husky racing.
What was my name there, Hazel?
You're not... Sorry.
Oh Lord.
Josh Wilcock. That's probably wrong as well.
That was good. It's on the screen, Hazel. I mean,
It's not on my screen.
Oh,
Look, sorry, I know too many people called Josh. I routinely spell Katie and Katie's name wrong, and they're 2 of my best friends, so suck
it's
it up.
good. Yeah, that's
At least I
I'm
remember. I can't even remember what I was going to say.
Well, here.
There's something about Huskies.
Oh yeah, of course you are an enthusiastic racer of Huskies.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
With that sort of front pulling power.
Yeah, in the Canadian.
I heard that you were trying to put the horse back in horsepower by having an 80 horse chariot.
Yeah. Like the one that Tom Jones had transport him around the circuit before the start of this very race.
Wow.
There's a little bit of a fact there.
Well,
Yeah, that wasn't shown either.
we're missing all the pageantry of Caesar's Palace.
yeah.
If you could drive any of the cars from the 1981 Formula 1 season, which car would you drive?
Oh, it would have to be the Alfa Romeo.
I simply wouldn't, because I like being alive.
Yeah, pick one of the unreliable ones.
So it breaks down before you get killed.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you ask
I would
me,
like
these Formula 1 cars got too safe.
Because it seems to be the one where people didn't die the most.
That's true.
If you ask
Also,
me,
I'm confident to have a well-maintained version in the Heritage Centre because they won the World Championship.
That's true. I mean, they have already won the championship, it's true.
you know who else was a world champion? Nicky Lauda. I hear he's coming back. What do y'all think about this?
Nah, he
He
ain't coming
can't come
back.
back. He's got that airline.
Yeah, that's true.
Or something quickly.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if in the far future a journalist happened to be coming back from Marrakesh in a slightly disorganised way, because when an entire racing series leaves Marrakesh on the same day, it turns out there aren't a huge number of flights available off-season. And so ended up, in order to get back in time for work, going to Bratislava, taking a bus to Vienna, tooling around in Vienna for a bit, and then getting Nicky Lauda's budget airline home. Loud Air is still operating.
Yes,
I think. On flights out of Vienna, it's largely operated by Ryanair, but their wine is different to Ryanair, and differently priced. I'm sad to report that it is more expensive.
Yeah,
but
Austrian wine ain't cheap.
Austrian wine. Yeah. So in my budget airline wine reviews, it actually ranked quite highly. There you go.
When are we getting the spreadsheet?
Sorry?
When are we getting the wine?
I've already published this article on Medium. It's been there for like 2 years.
Of course.
I'm pretty sure our host would not like us to let the audience know that earlier this year in April there was a fire here at Caesar's Palace. No one was killed.
But I mean, we're all broadcasting from separate bedrooms in Caesar's Palace.
Oh, that does explain the scorch marks on my walls.
But yes, apparently, of the injured,
no one was killed.
Yeah, no one was killed. Of the injured, 16 people were injured. No one were guests, and there were many reports that during said fire, none of the gamblers in the casino even moved. They just stayed as everyone else evacuated.
What? Oh, hello. Is this a move?
No, it's perennial.
Oh, hello.
Don't worry.
All right.
Going to
Right.
go on.
It's the one move that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They could.
Oh, I felt like I just saw a tiny little house on the track.
Yeah, this is just like there's just some houses right outside the circuit.
Now, because I can't remember even things like videos I made 2 weeks ago, do we have blue flags at the moment? Is that a thing that I've invented?
No.
Although Tinker Tailor
Not
Solstice
really.
is being played after this broadcast, if anyone's interested.
So
Murray just
blue flags should exist right now because blue flags have technically
They do, but they're not really enforced to the
so
same degree that they
IndyCar
are.
rules then. They're just advisory.
Yeah, this is before it was like, move out of the way.
there's a faster car behind you. Do with that what you will.
Do that what you will. Oh Lord.
It's the 71st lap.
Man.
I hope we get a timing screen soon.
What I've enjoyed every time the top six has come up is that it's absolute chaos from positions 2 to 5. But
Yeah.
Watson is firmly stuck in 6th. Whatever happens around him, he's just always in 6th, just sitting there, having a great day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the McLaren way.
Can't seem to make up any positions when people drop out ahead of him, but isn't losing any positions either.
At least he's consistent. Oh look, that's... Oh, it's a Brabham lapping a
Goodness
Brabham.
me, this track is really. I mean, one of obviously, if in the future, obviously right now I'm just girl in 1981, but if in the future I became a Formula E journalist, and had to witness some quite desolate tracks on godforsaken places,
Heaven forbid.
I would probably say this is the most dire track I have looked at for some time.
Well, you'll be glad to know that you'll be glad to know that in the future this track no longer exists and is now an expansion wing to Caesar's Palace, as it is a massive shopping mall / a theater style arena.
All right, well, we need to build it.
It's probably like Bitcoin and everything.
Oh my goodness, they brought the television up. They're gonna jinx him.
They brought the graphic up. They said he won the championship.
There's still 2 laps to go. Anything can happen.
And it usually does.
Who's the champion?
PK has just been announced as champion, despite the fact the race hasn't
Okay,
finished.
so I mean, another PK it's possible in the future another PK might mathematically uncertainly win a championship.
No,
In
it's
a
not.
really,
Please ignore that caption that came up.
disruptive way.
The grandstands do look quite full, to be fair.
Well, there aren't as many grandstands as they originally planned to put up, so...
Yeah.
Only the best view was from the roof of the hotel, which is
You gotta be a high roller if you want to get up there. We couldn't afford it.
Yeah, that's gotta be
we
fun.
probably could.
Not at
Because,
Caesar's
They
Palace.
didn't used to value the roof in Nevada hotels because it was too hot.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure we had air conditioning, so...
Oh
What I
no,
appreciate-
you did, but not on the roof. That was where the air conditioning units were.
Yes, that's why you're one level below the roof in the penthouse.
Oh right, I see. Yeah. That's why I'm saying the roof would not be an issue.
No, the roof will be pretty hot.
Yeah.
I do
The roof
appreciate that.
would be on fire.
4 to go.
Oh, look, the gap between Prost and Giacomelli is down to 7 seconds. He's taken 5 seconds out of it.
Oh, goodness.
And they're both gaining on Jones.
Drive, Alan, drive!
Watson's still a lap down.
But in 6th, importantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then John Watson in 6th place has been lapped. Just
Okay, well, he's just got to do 9 seconds a lap, and the win is his.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah, possible.
Definitely.
Tracy is in 12th position. And there is PK as we watch Alan Jones.
Now, okay, good, we're back on Alan Jones. I was wondering what he was up to.
Oh, goodness. You know, we haven't seen Alan Jones get enough camera time, but I mean, it's a very important race for him. Could be his last Grand Prix. What a storybook way to end it, knowing that he has no desire to come back after this whatsoever.
It'll never happen.
Just be no need.
He's achieved everything he needed to achieve.
Yeah, he's done everything.
As you know, you've got to make way for the next generation. You can't just stay in your car taking up seats when there's all these hot shots ready to come through.
I mean, particularly if it's
No, you
Alfa
couldn't
Romeo.
just sit in an
Exactly.
Alfa Romeo.
That's why Andretti's retiring, of course.
Circuit carved from virgin car park soil. And
Yep,
mean,
still Alan Jones, still leading.
Car park soil.
What I love about this track in particular is I can't actually tell, like, well, I can right at this moment, but which part of the track they're on,
Absolutely.
how much of the lap is left to go. I like the mystery element of that.
It's a nightmare. It's the one case that the corner number graphics on the bottom corner would be actually useful.
Yeah.
And Jones is now facing the prospect of deciding whether he's going to bother to try and lap. Alan actually seeming from that camera angle
Nice.
to be looking about him as he goes round the circuit.
Nice.
which
Yeah,
I'm
now
certain-
we really can't tell what part of the track he's on because we're at the closest angle possible.
On his last lap, leading Alan.
Yeah, we need to zoom out back to that helicopter shot that's too far out to see the cars because they haven't invented HD yet.
And television is great these days.
And I noticed
Yeah,
they use the low angle shots sparingly because you could actually see signage from other hotels in shots facing the strip. Like, I saw the sign for the Stardust Hotel from the other angle.
Oh, the Stardust Hotel. Yuck. I mean, I know they had a Can-Am race there way back when, but I mean, what good did that give us other than Jim Hall having career-ending injuries?
Oh, well, the Stardust race wasn't actually at Stardust because Stardust owned their own purpose-built racetrack, not in a car park.
Hey, this is technically purpose-built, King.
Yeah, I think you'll find every racetrack that is built is purpose-built.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Final corner. Here we come.
This is the
Alan
final lap.
Jones
Hey!
wins it. Alan Jones wins.
It was touch and go there, but he did it.
Yep.
Yeah, he was really pushed.
But now we gotta focus on this young man. The man
Yeah,
who will be the
don't worry about the
undisputed.
battle for a second. Let's watch PK complete the whole lap.
the undisputed #1 driver in Brazil for the next decade to come. I cannot see anybody else stealing his thunder, getting into an ugly personal feud with him.
Let's just Google the British F3000 Championships real quick.
The British Formula Ford. I hear there's some kid that's just really doing well.
I think let's just announce the race results for now, guys. Like, I mean, I think the guy coming in places is PK, right?
Yeah, this is 5th. This is PK in 5th. They haven't shown 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
And it doesn't matter. Look, whatever hotshot young Brazilian is up and coming through the junior Formula, he's not going to beat this guy, Alan Prost, who's clearly going to dominate.
Yeah. Well, look, there you go. There's John.
He's the real big deal.
Really is.
Yeah, just stand in the middle of the track.
There's the championship for Nelson.
I mean, only some South American bizarro could stop him.
Exactly.
No,
it'll never happen.
Like, to completely break form, I think it is hilariously funny that Nelson Piquet Sr. won his championship in exactly the same way that Nelson Piquet Jr. did, which was that he wasn't certain where he crossed the line, and he didn't know if he got it. And Nelson Piquet Jr., when he won the first series of Formula E, which, you know, it was a spec championship at the time, and there was a high class of drivers overall. And I don't think that Piquet Jr.'s championship should be in any way lessened by him, although both Buemi and Degrassi kind of try and make it so.
Well, look, there's Prost coming up in 2nd. Now we've got David Coulthard for the podium interviews.
Who's David?
They both won their championships in exactly the same way. And PK Senior refused to come to PK Junior's championship winning race because it wasn't F1.
I don't know. Maybe you assumed that there'd be more because
he just considered him as a lower being because he had left F1.
I don't know.
And like, when you have that context, you understand why he crashed the crash gate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe PK Senior assumed there'd be more championships, considering that this is the first of his 3 championships.
Well, yeah, but even so, like,
is this Alan Jones still going around? What is happening?
This is PK going around for a
victory
second time.
Jones already parked it up.
Just having a lull at this point.
Yeah.
Where did the Ligiers finish?
Lafitte was 6th. He got Watson on the final lap. Watson does not finish in 6th place.
Wow.
After all that.
After all of that.
0.3 of a second.
Yeah. And the gap between Prost in 2nd and Giacomelli in 3rd was 0.38 seconds.
Yeah,
Lafitte really needed that, didn't he? He only got 4th by 1 point.
Yeah.
Carlos Reutemann loses by a single point to Nelson Piquet. Brazil defeats Argentina once again.
Yeah, Reutemann will get him next year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Reutemann's he's got the Williams seat. He's going to be number 1 there. He's there for a full season. Yeah, they don't show the podium because, like, who wants to watch that? You know?
Josh, my friend.
And this is Josh.
Oh my god, wrapping up the whole season in 1 minute.
That's it.
That's it. That's all you
Stuart.
need. Season.
Are we just watching? We're watching it. Sorry,
he's doing another lap. Stuart, you need to do it. You need to do a season review for this season. That's what they need.
I'm absolutely on it. They need it.
They do.
This is it. I love it.
This is the whole review.
Over the Brabham, just going round again.
Yeah, introduced by Des Lynam, but introduced by Desmond Lynam.
Oh, Lord.
I'm sorry, I can't go.
Yeah, was right.
Oh, there we go. That's it.
BBC Two.
Boom.
Beautiful. What a race. What a race. Yeah, shout out to Martin Lindenberg, the camera director. You did a great job, mate.
For
Wonderful.
joining us during the stream of the 1981 Caesar Palace Grand Prix. I'm just going to go to the panel for a brief last moment. RJ, I'm going to come to you in order. RJ, what was your lasting impression and your thoughts about experiencing the time slip of going all the way back to 1981 and looking at this Grand Prix?
Me, as a negative 8-year-old, I was very captivated by the many twists and turns that this race took very early on. I thought with my negative 8-year-old brain that I felt like Carlos Reutemann had this race in the bag, but from the moment he bogged down the start, it just seemed to kind of slip away from him. But credit where it's due for Nelson Piquet, still very early on in his career. I'm sure much more success will come, and 1982 is looking promising. If Niki Lauda comes back, things could be really, really interesting.
All right, Ryan, moving on to you. How was your experience of this?
Oh man, it was interesting to see this race at this Theater of Dreams, this parking lot of fantasies, this tarmac tundra of all our hopes. I was like, this is the inaugural race of what is gonna be a hallmark event on the World Championship calendar. Then I looked at this year's calendar and I'm like, oh, maybe, current events, and I looked at next year's calendar and I'm like, oh man, what happened to Caesar's Palace?
They should bring it back in this corona
we brought back Imola. Why not?
Yeah.
Knock down.
They're talking about rotating them in, the classics.
Just moving on to Stuart. Stuart, could you give me some of your...
I think it was a real interesting and novel idea to not tell the director it was a championship decider.
Yeah.
And just
roll
let him
with
just shoot whatever he wants to shoot.
Oh, okay. Also, quick update on my basement door. It's not going so hot right now. The frame rotted out, so the entire frame has to be replaced.
That's cool. Aside from running a GoFundMe next week for King's Door. Stuart, yes. So you were glad to see some stuff.
Yeah, there was definitely some stuff.
Jones.
We did, yeah, and you know what? I haven't seen Alan Jones race before, so I'm glad to see that.
We were glad to see that the tradition of following a front runner rather than looking at any form of midfield battle in order to make the championship seem as boring as possible actually dated as far back as 1981.
Yeah, it turns out we do have a long and rich history of focusing on the leader, missing the action, telling a very different story to what's actually happening. Formula One has its traditions, and we need to stick by them.
Absolutely.
And Josh, I have heard that you have written a published book, which is available to buy. If people wanted to know more about the background to some of the 1981 Caesar's Palace Grand Prix, and that you also have a subsequent sequel in the works.
That's true. The Auto by Amelie and its sequel, the Auto by Amelie. The Auto by Amelie is available on Amazon, and the sequel is coming soon. Asterisk. Anytime within the next 6 months.
So if they search for you as an author, for you and Bruno Giacomelli, say what is your name?
Josh Wilcock. Awesome.
So
It's all available on my Twitter.
by all means, purchase Josh's book. It's also available on not Amazon.
On Gumroad, which is
Gumroad. It's also
for free on
Gumroad.
as
And if you
as a
look
PDF.
for him as just Joshing01 on Twitter, then you can find some links. Josh is the reason that we all got together for this celebration of
You're all
the Caesar
welcome.
Palace Grand Prix tonight. It's been a privilege to be here with RJ O'Connell, the best voice in podcasting.
Oh, that's a rough deal for you there, Kim.
Serially knowledgeable man about motorsport history who I have ever met.
It's true.
And the only person I will allow to mansplain motorsport history to me. Chain Bear, who continues to have brilliant insights despite not spoilering himself for tonight's broadcast. And Josh Wilcock, who is Bruno Giacomelli's #1 fan.
I mean, I think fan is like, we're past that point. It's biographer now.
Josh Wilcock is Bruno Giacomelli's #1 studier.
It's that's what I'm taking at uni.
Article, and you know what? It's fine. That's
he's bought a copy of it, so you know.
Write a fucking biography of some obscure driver you love. Send it to me. I'll write the fucking prefix I did for.
She did. It's true.
Oh, what's it called? Intro.
Forward.
No. What's it called?
Forward.
Oh, what it's called in publishing. Anyway. Forward,
yeah.
Yes. Anyway, thank you for joining us tonight. And, I've been me. I've mostly just turned up in a silly 80s costume. And Shadow, I will regret rubbing on my pillows tomorrow morning. But have a lovely evening and keep in touch. And we'll all be back with probably more of this sort of stuff.
All right.
Let's hope so.
Bye.
I'm also waving. Goodbye.
All right. Bye, Josh.
Bye.
Josh.
Please.